Okay, so this thing says it's recording. Usually when you turn on the mic or you turn the lights on, people change and stuff like that. So that happens to me sometimes when you got a camp counselor. Yeah, I'm on when the thing's on. But man, I just want to keep it raw, real, authentic with you because we go way back. And it's been a minute since we connected. So I'd like for people just to enter into our conversation and into our world, man. That's essentially what this podcast is. It's nice to meet you. It's a way for me to connect with people, share, ask genuine questions, but share who they are so others can meet them. So Chris Bulger for Technicalities and Logistics. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Rob.
Dude, it's been a long time. It really has.
Yeah.
And then when I saw your TikTok, I'm like, oh yeah, dude. Because one, I know you're very smart. And two, you're very good at what you do. So before we jump into that video that I saw, let these guys know, school these people on who you are and your expertise, because talk about, what is it? Guinness Book of World Records. That's the type of caliber Chris is playing at.
Yeah, so by trade, I was a hypnotherapist for the past 19 years. I was homeless before that, and hypnosis changed my life, literally within 24 hours. Like, I was living like on an armchair between two houses for quite a long time as a teenager. No drugs or alcohol, never touched the stuff, but I just had severe depression and anxiety. I was somebody who was fully capable, very athletic, very gifted in music, had a lot of friends, was very respectful, but I just couldn't operate my own life. Like, you know what it's like when you're like, I know, like I have all the things to be successful, but why am I not successful? It was like that times 10. Like I was just a volcano waiting to erupt, and I had no way of blowing that steam off and making my life work. So I was a fitness trainer making $0 every waking moment I could. But when you have anxiety, it's hard to approach people and do a set and have sales. One night I was borrowing a friend's computer. Long story, maybe we'll get into another time, but basically a friend let me borrow his laptop to look for jobs. And then by the second job application, I'm like, I don't want a new job. I don't want any job. I want to work, but not like this. I don't want to be a waiter. I don't want to do this. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to waste time. I'm just going to sit back and veg out. And I've never done that in those previous 2 years struggling. And it felt like a sin to like just be, I felt guilty. I'm just going to waste time. I don't have time to waste. I got nothing, man. So by the 6 or 7 talking cat video, I thought back to when I was like 5 years old. And I was like, what did I want to, why am I in this situation? I hit pause on this stupid cat video. And I was like, what am I doing? Pause. What is Chris Bulger doing in a time like this? Like, how am I in this position? I'm so capable. I'm like, I was voted like most capable person in my high school out of like 3,000 people. Why am I in this place? It was so ironic. So I thought back to when I was a kid, and I remember being 5 years old wanting to be a magician. But my mom said, that's not real. It's like, Chris, there's a secret behind it. And then they got me a little magic kit, and it was so cool. But then you learn a trick, and then you realize there was a really cheap secret behind it. And you're like, damn, man, that sucked. So the magic would just go away from me. And then I saw Hypnosis on TV, and I was like, that's the real magic, because what's the secret behind that? And my mom was like, Chris, that's not real. It's just like magic. There's a secret behind it. But I didn't give up. I was like, no, I want a magic kit, a book. I don't know what it is, but something with hypnosis. Every year I'd ask for one. Every year, hey, this year I want a hypnosis kit for my birthday or for Christmas. And every year it was, Chris, that doesn't exist. And I'm like, all right, well, maybe next year it exists. And I would try again next year. Like, I really thought I can make it happen. Then I gave up on it eventually. Back then, my parents fought a lot over money, and it was a really stressful time for everybody. So I remember watching my dad work 4 jobs, busting his ass, coming home and then having an argument, like my mom arguing with him about money or this or that. So I tried getting involved in their argument one time to see if I can fix things. Because when you watch Bugs Bunny hypnotize Elmer Fudd on TV, you're like, I can say one thing to make people stop doing what they're doing. So I got the courage to go between them, and I said, you two are acting like a bunch of kids. So I was 5 years old, so I thought like that was a genius line. As an adult, I still think that's a pretty genius line.
Yeah.
But then they both turned to me and they told me why they were right in their argument. So they pulled me into the argument by accident, not meaning to. They never did that any other time. But that was the moment I was imprinted. That was the moment that caused the hardships in my teenage years. So here I am on the armchair with his laptop, and I type in hypnosis. And all of a sudden, it's real. All of a sudden, there's pages, articles, videos. I found people I can talk to. I figured out what Skype was. I downloaded Skype on my friend's computer. I talked to people all over the world that night. I just randomly called people, and they picked up the phone, and they're like, "Who is this?" And I'm like, "Hey, my name is Chris. I just saw you on a blog, and how do I hypnotize people?" And they were really nice. Some people taught me some things. Other people hypnotized me when I told them my situation. I was wide-eyed at 9 p.m. at night on a Saturday night. My girlfriend, she was out with friends that day. We were together for 4 years. It was a very abusive relationship. She had bipolar disorder and borderline, and it was a really rough time. And then here I was, all of a sudden having a zest for life that I haven't had in years come back. And I'm up all night, and I'm like wide awake, and I'm calling people in Israel. I'm calling people in New Zealand. I'm calling Cape Town, South Africa. I'm calling Toronto. I'm calling everywhere. And I was like, this community they're so nice. They just wanted to give to me for no reason because they saw how excited I was. And the next morning, 9 o'clock in the morning, Sunday, I worked at a gym. I run to work. Now I had a bike, but the bike got stolen a month before this. So I was running as my main form of transportation. And my school was 3 miles away. So it was a 6-mile run pretty much every day. So I run to work. I grab 4 people off the gym floor and I lock them in the office. And I tell myself, no one's leaving until I sell something. And I just went ahead and used every technique I just learned. And I had so much confidence and clarity. There was no more anxiety or depression. It was just gone. Wasn't even on my mind. I was just like, I got nothing to lose. This is the best day ever. So within 2 hours, I closed like 11 grand in fitness training, which was like unheard of. And then my boss gives me an advance, gives me $5,500. So that was great. I then call up a friend, real estate agent. I'm like, hey, find me an apartment. I don't care where it is. I'm going to go to IKEA and pick me up a flat mattress. That's the only thing I cared about, was sleeping on a flat surface. Oh man. Armchairs don't go back all the way. They go 45 degrees. My hips were dying for it. So 9 o'clock at night, I'm now in this new place. I have food in my belly, money in my pocket, a roof over my head. I am so empowered by my own thoughts. And I'm like, this is life now. Girlfriend calls me and she says, we need to talk. Paul said we should see other people. And I'm like, who the hell is Paul? I don't know Paul, at least her friends. So it turns out she was cheating on me, but I didn't even care. Wasn't hurt by it. I already knew where, like, I was in a different place. I was way too empowered. I'm like, I already was planning on leaving her anyway because it was destroying my life. So I gave her specific instructions on how to remove me from her life. I was like, hey, delete my MySpace. We had MySpace back 20 years ago. Get rid of my number. Anything I own that you have, burn it, throw it away, donate it, keep it. I don't care. It's not mine. It's yours now. And that was that. The very next day, I'm walking down the block in the morning, pep in my step. I'm looking at life and reality so differently now. I'm like, the world is mine. And I see this office for rent, and it has a squat rack inside the office. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. So I call the number, and the woman's, hey, some fitness trainer just signed the lease. He's a big jacked guy. Look for him. Not even a minute later, here comes the big jacked guy. I insisted on a job interview. I'm like, hey, listen, man, I'm gonna come work for you. He's like, no, we already have enough employees. And I'm like, no, you understand. I'm working here with you, and I'm gonna help you grow this thing. I just knew it. So he was like, oh, all right, fine. We'll do a job interview. The job interview was a grueling 2-hour kettlebell workout to see if I could survive it. I did. It was great. It was a great time. We go back to the gym because we did it outside. He's in the bathroom. A woman with 2 kids walks in. And before he walks out of the room, I sold all 3 of them fitness training. He comes out of the bathroom and says, hey, what's going on? I'm like, these are my first 3 clients. And he's like, what? I was like, yeah, man, told you. So things happened in the next month where he left the company. But he signed everything over to me. So now this was my company. So all the weights, all the mats, all the clients, the lease, everything. I stayed open. I now had a partner here and there along the way. And then he came back at some point too. But With me being the foundation, we've had 6-figure months offline with no online presence in a median salaried neighborhood of $47,000 a year. I had no idea what the hell I was doing, but I had hypnosis, and that was transforming me by the day. It was insane. I got so passionate with hypnosis because I was like, hey, this changed my life. Obviously, this is going to be my calling. Obviously, at least for a part of my life, I need to bring this to the world. So I did hypnosis shows, and it wasn't a perfect path. There were failures and setbacks, but I don't feel it like was like a setback. It was more like okay, that was a good experience. Let's go again. For example, my first hypnosis show was 2 months later from learning that hypnosis even existed. Zero experience. And by this point, I found my mentor, Casey. He's still to this day the most genius man I've ever met in my entire life. But there I go and do my first hypnosis show in front of 200 people. I get booed off stage. It was every person's worst nightmare. It was as bad as you can imagine it. And I still walked off with grace and composure. Somebody threw a steak knife at one of the people on stage. And thank God the wooden handle hit them in the forehead and not the blade. That thing spun like a freaking like a ninja star. Just by chance, it was okay. Left a nasty bruise on his head though. So if that was the blade, I don't want to know what happened. What would happen? But then the following week, I headlined for Comedy Central and it went perfect.
No.
I cannot explain exactly how I got both those gigs. So then I went on, I wrote a bunch of books. I wrote 6 books since then. Broke a couple Guinness World Records just for funsies, just to like how far can I use hypnosis on myself? And hypnosis became a big tool on doing that. If it wasn't for hypnosis, I absolutely would not be able to have broken those records. They had to do with physical strength. I'm 5'8", 160 pounds. I'm physically nothing special. I had to use something special to make it work. And hypnosis was the thing. Since then, I took that protocol that I made. It's called the Pure Focus Protocol. I've been teaching that to Fortune 100 companies, Fortune 500 companies, business owners, and people that just want to be more effective in life. A lot of the times they're executives. A lot of the times they're people that are already doing the best they possibly can. And with the Pure Focus Protocol, I just unlock a new level of potential in them and they tap right into it. That's what happened back then. That's what I'm still doing that now. And that was like, now again, Rob, that was the Pure Focus Protocol. That was like a number of years ago, but since learning hypnosis and practicing it and running a business with it, that was almost 20 years ago. That's 19 and a half years ago. So I still, to this day, still pull all-nighters, not because I need to. I just love it so much. Like I coach people and I found my unique niche and how I help people become more effective. And my way is very different than any traditional method. I do things over the phone. I do special things in person with people and the results are absolutely amazing. I love this more than I've ever loved it. The same passion I've had on day one, learning that this stuff is real. I still have that today. It never faded. It never went away. I never woke up and was like, I don't want to change lives today. I've always been that person. I've always been locked in on that. So that's where I am now. I went back to school, did a bunch of stuff, did a PhD program. Those are all good stuff. But it's more than that. I've come up with a lot of my own techniques and psychological systems. I both sell that to different companies. And then I also certify people and I also do this on people too. And it works the best on business owners and my favorite in relationships. Yeah, we've transformed a lot of people that were going to get divorced like within weeks, days. And then we stopped everything. Things that seemed they were beyond repair, everything was frozen in the pause in the first day. And then the following week, the spark came back. And they did it on themselves. Like it wasn't me waving. I'm not doing Tony Robbins stuff where I record just 20 minutes of an intervention and then you never know where the people end up. No, I give people tools to save their own relationship and I work with them through that. And it creates the same zest and the same spark that I had 20 years ago. And that to me has been the biggest thing that I'm on now. That's been my biggest passion. That's what it's evolving into now.
I've got so many questions.
Go for it.
I could play the inquisitive curiosity person or play the devil's advocate person. I'm trying to figure out which one to tackle first because one would be more for me that I know people would ask, but then the other side is just that skeptic. Like, really? Okay, so I'll start from the hypnosis. Typically, hypnosis is like this mumbo jumbo from East India and breathing things and the watch kind of. Is that what you do, or how different is it? Or is that like a just bad misinterpretation of what hypnosis really is?
So that is definitely like a stereotype of hypnosis, is that there's the pendulum and you look at the pocket, the watch from my pocket, you look at the watch, or mind control. And
yeah.
The sad thing with hypnosis is that it's looked at as like this entertainment tool, which it is great at doing, but it's also the first form of medicine ever created. Like you think of the RX symbol, like the cane with the two snakes going up it, like that. Those are two hypnotized snakes. That's where that came from. So that's the first layer of that. But the way I use hypnosis, I don't use a pendulum. I don't do like the "you're getting very sleepy." That's 1950s nonsense. No, there's actually 16 to 18 different ways to hypnotize people. Some of those ways, you let the person know, hey, we're going to do hypnosis right now. And then other ways, the person has no idea change is even happening. And that is the more complicated way of doing it, but it's also the most powerful way to positively change somebody, because you can tell them a story like the story I just told, and people start to change unaware that they're changing, but they're changing for the better. And there's no negative repercussions from that. So if anyone hears the story, part of their unconscious now learned a new resource that is going to get applied to other parts of their life. So that's a way of I do things. When I talk to people on the phone, they think I'm just talking to them on the phone. It is literal rocket science and brain surgery on my side, what I'm saying to them, but they have no idea. They just hear a story and they just realize that they're in the middle of the call. They have an epiphany. They change. Their performance changes after that call. So they sit back, they relax, and they listen to me speak. We have a conversation. And then suddenly there's like this fire lit in them. And they're like, what's going on here? They think it's like ate something, or like just something's going on internally. They're having an experience that they can't even pinpoint what it is. All they know is that it's good. And they're getting this drive in life to do better. And that's one of my favorite ways of using hypnosis. That way, along again with some of the tools I've created, they've never seen this before. Other therapists and hypnotists come to me all the time, because what happens when how hypnosis works is some people get like a wall is up. They become too conscious of it. So they come to me and it's like they found hypnosis all over again and they have no idea how it works.
Yeah, so I saw the TikTok video and you were talking about energy in your mind and how it takes effort to think of things and we just aren't willing to put in the energy to do the good thing. So then you did an example. I'm like, okay, I'll try it. Yeah, I'm thinking. And then you did the positive thing. I'm like, yeah, I'm thinking. And I've sensed that shift in my emotions, my feeling. The vibe just shifted by the prompts that you were sharing on what to do. I'm like, dude, that makes a lot of sense, man. It's so like in your face, but you miss it.
Yeah. Would you want to do that example right now?
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
So in a moment, now you know what's going to happen, but this is perfect. And I can walk you through. What are you thinking? So I'm going to ask you a question, and this question is going to have a task in it. I want you to simply feel where your brain goes, where your mind goes. And then I'll ask you the same question, just delivered differently, and then watch how your mind goes to a whole different place without you even having to try. So this is called the 999 tennis player problem. There's 999 tennis players in a knockout style tournament, which means that one person goes against a second person, and whoever wins goes on to the second round. But there's an odd number of players, so every other round, one person gets a bye. How many matches are going to happen total?
A lot.
Now, when you hear that, what goes through your mind?
Overwhelm, confusion, because there's 900. I'm not sweat. I'm thinking hot. I'm thinking, dude, no, that's confusing. It's too much. I don't even want to play.
Yeah, it makes people want to quit at the task. But does the task make sense?
Yeah, it's a knockout round. So you got to play and then lose.
So you know what the problem is presenting, like what the task is here. You know what we're trying to find, right?
Kind of.
Okay. We're looking to see, there's a bunch of people, how many matches are going to happen total?
I want to win. So I want to know how many matches I need to play to win.
Yeah, exactly. So now most people hear this and they're like, well, this is really complicated. I need a pen and paper. I need a calculator. They need some kind of tool to help them. Yes. They need to phone a friend. And then most people also say, hey, I'm just not a math person, an identity. They say, hey, I don't need tools. I need a different identity in order to solve this. Or a belief about themselves. I don't think I'm capable of finding the answer to this. But I always ask, I say, hey, do you not understand the problem? And they go, no, I understand the problem. All right. Like a father figure, I'm like, well, then why can't you solve it? I thought this was simple. Isn't it? How can I make it? And now imagine a boss says this to an executive and says, I don't understand. I gave you the task. Why can't you figure it out? You can't handle it? Do you need to get demoted? Do you need a different position? Maybe this isn't the right role for you. How does that feel as an employee to hear that? You're like trying your best and you're finding out that your best is nowhere near enough. It feels demeaning. It hits your self-esteem. It makes you paint the world a certain way, and it puts you into a category that you don't belong to be in. It lowers your worth, but your worth shouldn't be dictated by what you can perform. Now, let me ask the same question differently now and just see where your mind goes. There's 999 tennis players in a knockout style tournament. How many of them have to lose before there's a clear winner?
998.
Yes. So look, that's the right answer for both. That's the same question. Right answer. The first question, it was like, I don't know. I start to, yeah. Oh my God, can I even work at this company? I can't hang. What am I overestimated myself?
I'm not a math person.
I'm not a math person. And now look, the person who's not a math person just solved a really intricate puzzle in 3 seconds without using any tools, didn't need an identity shift, didn't need to change out their beliefs.
Yeah.
So now instead of doing all this accessory stuff to help get the answer, you just change the delivery and say it in a way that's more common on how people process information. So what that means in like a bigger sense, excuse me. What that means, now imagine this. In situations like this, if you're a leader or you're an executive or you have a team of people, or you're a manager, knowing how to word things like this, knowing how your team processes makes the most complicated tasks suddenly easy. Now, instead of having a team that drags their feet unknowingly, now they're SEAL Team 6. Now you can leave them to their own devices and you know you're going to come back and the performance will continue to go up on its own and they're going to love it. I did a consult for a very famous Fortune 50 company. And I got in there, this was like 10 years ago. And the CEO brings in the C-suite and this guy was vicious. He still is vicious. Rightfully, because he runs a very controversial company. But these people work in 12 to 14 hours days on weekends too. And he lines them up like as if they were like children. And he's, Chris, I need to make them more productive. And I look at them and I say, what do you need from me to make you more productive? No one knew what to say. Everyone's face turned red. They looked down. They felt embarrassed. So I was like, all right, well, this is a simple fix. So I was like, hey, let's just take that question and turn it around. Okay. Hey guys, what would you need to make your jobs easier? And then all of a sudden the feedback came. Oh, we need new this. We need new that. I need this done. I need a calendar like this. And then all of a sudden their productivity went up because now the tasks they currently have are easier. Their time is freed up. Now they can do more tasks in the same amount of time. They brought in so many experts before me on that one. Hilarious. So that's just one example of people process things differently. Like what you're bad at doesn't mean that you're not good at anything. It just means that the way you're perceiving it is making it difficult. When I broke those 2 Guinness World Records, if you told me, hey, Chris, go break these world records in strength, that's, dude, no. And I wasn't exercising for 2 years before that. So now I'm going to get back into shape. And within a few months, I'm going to go ahead and do this. Hell no. I had to word it. I had to perceive it in a way that made it easy. When I did that, it took me 3 months. This is not boring. It's a long day. So here's an example of that. There's the different ways people process. Now there's a very specific set of ways people process. There's about 47. I think I lost you. There you go. About 47 different ways people process. No one needs to memorize that. Only I do. The 3 top most common ways people process that somebody listening right now could identify with is if you're a willpower person, a perceptive person, or an emotional person. Everybody's all 3, but everybody has a dominant, a secondary, and then a third, which is like a little bit of a sprinkle. Willpower-based people look at a task and say, it's going to be difficult, but I'll do it anyway. This is like Nike, just do it. This person needs structure and consistency. They need to wake up every day at 6 a.m., go to the gym, come back, hit their business goals, have discipline. David Goggins, the shit out of life. the more they do that, the more energy they're going to get. That's only 33% of people. So these people, if a task is difficult, they'll still find a way to do it, even if it's imperfect. I would also say that most people choose their ideal client avatar hoping that they're going to be willpower people. I just tell them what to do, and then they freaking do it, and they don't ask any questions about it. But that's only 30% of people, 33% of people, so it's not realistic. Perceptive people, this is what I am. I am perceptive. Perceptive people, we need a little bit less structure because too much structure lowers our energy. So we become less productive the more structure we have. But the perceptive person says, change the way I think of things, and the things that I want to do become easy. If you're like me, and there's a lot of traits that go on, I can look at somebody and say, you're perceptive. Without them even opening their mouth, I know. Which tells me how to treat them, how to talk to them, and how to get them more effective immediately. An emotional-based person says, change how I feel, and I can do anything. That's like the Beyoncés and the Oprah Winfreys. Each one of these three are fully capable of hitting the same goals on the same timelines. But the preset, like they have these things called progress presets, which means like if you're a willpower-based person, how you make progress in life is already clear. A perceptive person has a different progress preset. And if you don't know that you're perceptive, when your life is going up and down, you think that you're not going anywhere, but really you're making just as much progress, if not more, than the willpower-based person. Same with emotional people. It's a very volatile up and down, and it stays wherever their emotional state is at. So in that way, I can give you so many examples of that. Excuse me. So here's an example. I have two friends. This is Mike and Eli. Mike is willpower based. Eli is perceptive. They both have a goal on January 1st to hit $1 million for the first time that year. All they do is focus on how they process. They came to me and I told them how they process, and they said, oh, we're just going to own up. We're just going to own how I do things. Mike makes 10 grand his first month. Then he makes 15 grand and then 23 grand. And he keeps incrementally building up. And he has to wake up at 5 a.m. every day, go to the gym, come back, do his morning routine, and then hit the calls hard. He works till 7 o'clock at night every single day. Eli makes $285,000 in the first 2 weeks of January, but then nothing for 4 months. So he goes to Bali for a few months, clears his mind, waits like a sniper for the next opportunity that simply makes sense to him, comes back at month 6, makes 500 grand. Mike just hit 100K month for the first time, and Mike is way behind. Eli's ahead in the beginning, and then Mike takes the lead, and then Eli's way ahead. Eli's like right there. He's so close. He's like 780,000 by month 6. But then nothing for 4 months. But then Mike continues to build. In December, they both hit the same number at the same time. Two completely different ways of doing things. Now, here's the thing. If you process a certain way and you're not living life the way you naturally process, then you're going to have struggles. And they're going to be pain in the ass struggles that you don't think you should have. For example, any struggle you have, like this is what I love about the perception process. If you're struggling in life with an emotional issue, a mental issue, a business issue, a relationship issue, I can easily point out, when you tell me your struggle, I can show you exactly how you've been trying to process and how you actually process. And the cool thing about this is, unlike a personality test where it's, are you this kind of person or that kind of person? Those are always skewed answers, because you're saying what the answer should be, not what it actually is. On top of that, your personality is ever changing. If you're a healthy individual, your personality oscillates. It changes. You're not always going to be an introvert. You're not always going to be an extrovert. You're not always going to be conscientious and so on. The way you process is never going to change. Ever.
Really?
So you can factually make ways of being productive, ways of being more effective in life and scaling your life up consistently. And the way you process information will never change. There's certain categories you can change, but you change them based on the situation, not based on like your entire life having to shift because of it.
So how do people find what they process then? How they process?
Excuse me. So the way somebody processes,
we need to know the categories first and then place them in whatever that category is.
So what they need to do right now is they need someone like me to walk them through that, who knows the details of every little perception process. And then what I do is when I hear their struggle, that's where the candid truth comes out. And I'll give you an
Yes.
example how that plays out in other parts of life. I was on a date recently, and asked her, I said, hey, we're talking about love languages. It always comes up on the first date. And I said, hey, what's your love language? And she says, all of them. Now, if you're a guy trying to love this person and they say all of them, good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck. So obviously she doesn't even know what her love languages are. And that's okay. A lot of people don't. A lot of people think they know because of what they like to give, but that's not the same as receiving it. So I say, hey, tell me which love languages are bullshit to you. And she says, what do you mean? And I'm like, has anyone tried to sweet talk their way into your life? Say, oh, yeah. Okay. Has anyone tried to sweep you off your feet? And then she goes, oh, yeah, I don't fall for that. Cool. Has anyone tried to buy your love? Yeah, of course. And then it came out that acts of service was the actual one. Acts of service means for me, it's like I got to show effort and put effort on the date. I got to remember things she said and tie it into experiences and do things for her. So it makes it really easy on connecting with this person now. The person who didn't even know what they needed the most, now we figured it out. So it's always in the negatives. So when you tell me what your struggle is, I'm going to hear language patterns, and that language pattern will show me certain things. But here's the thing. I like accuracy. When I'm building a house, I like to measure twice and cut once. I don't want to waste resources or time. So it's always a let's wait and see approach. I ask many different things on their experience of life. And the less they know about the perception process in the beginning, the more candid it's going to be. And they say, oh, I feel like this, I feel like that. It's very unfiltered. And then I can now peg certain struggles versus each other and see exactly what's going on. And when I tell them what's going on unconsciously, 100% of the time, they're like, oh my God, that is exactly what I feel. I never knew I could articulate that. And now once they know that, instant productivity, instant higher performance, because now they're like, oh, wait a minute, that's not who I am. This is who I am. And they jump right into it because it's already home for them. And they go, that feels good. I like this version of me. Yeah, that's actually, you were trying to be like freaking David Goggins. That's not you. That's you for a couple of days, but the energy drops because you're not willpower based. That's okay. Don't worry about it. Like the world's made for willpower people. It's okay that you're different. And then with this, a lot of the times when people are like, oh, I tried everything and this, yeah, I hear that I would say that 90% of my clients has tried literally everything. Like I would say 2020 and 2021, I think a bulk of my clients were people that worked with Tony Robbins one-on-one for over a year before they found me. And then we just had a conversation like, hey, this is what I do differently. You make your own choices. And they're still with me, all of them. It's also a steal of a price. I don't charge $100,000.
Wow. But having them, aspiration is different than reality. And when they're in reality, you can find the patterns and then connect them to your list that based on your experience, you can be like, okay, you're leaning more towards this. What do you think?
I didn't say, what do you think? I say this, I say, where am I wrong? Because I want to really battle test what I say to these people. I don't like chance. If I can control it, like with people's psychology, I don't like chance. So I don't like putting the ball in someone's court and say, hey, what do you think about this? Because that sounds, I'm not sure. I also don't want to come off, I don't want to pretend like I know everything. There are some things I don't. I have a client right now. I've had him for 5 years. He signed on with me when I said, I don't know something. It's like transparency is key. What I do is this, when I show someone how they process, and then I don't say, you are now optimized, go into the world and be amazing. No, I say, go and try to break the thing that we just did. Go and try to break it, because if you can break it, that means we didn't fully do a good job, and we'll come back and then we'll we'll revivify everything. But after so many years of practicing this stuff, people don't break it. I'm at the point now where I know they're not going to break it. They can't. I'd be really shocked if they did. I'd be pleasantly surprised, because then I was like, all right, cool. Now there's room for optimizing the system. But I've been optimizing it for 14 years now, like vehemently.
So there's no deep breathing and background music and incense and all that stuff. None of that with your hypnosis.
No,
what does hypnosis mean? Wait, what's the word? What's the root word? Where does it come from? It comes from Greek. It's Greek. It's for hypnos, the god of something. And here it means like a sleep-like state, sleep in suggestible state. Now, here's the thing. We don't do any witchcraft in my coaching. And when I say witchcraft, I would say this, and this might rub people the wrong way,
but it's got to be, this is how I do things. And I am totally inflexible with this. I do no witchcraft, even though hypnosis could sometimes count as witchcraft in certain circles of people. I totally get it. Everything I do lines up in the name of Jesus. Everything I do is, you can find this stuff in the Bible. I never planned on that. I didn't try to like, let me make a biblical system for, no, I never started that way. I started doing things in a certain way. It felt so right for me to do this. I'm like, this feels good. I don't mind putting this out to the world. I don't mind getting challenged on this stuff.
Okay, yeah. Now you've entered into a whole different realm.
Yes.
That's very interesting. So the basis, your biblical basis for this approach is founded where and why?
So there's two parts of the brain that make thoughts. There's your prefrontal cortex. That's where you think your thoughts. And then there's your amygdala, which is a tiny little almond-shaped ancient part of your brain that thinks thoughts for you. Those thoughts are not real, ever, even the positive ones. Are those the
same thoughts that surface when you're sleeping and having a dream? It's that.
Sometimes.
Okay. The subconscious?
Yeah, the subconscious. But sometimes you wake up, you have some good dreams. Sometimes it's bad. Usually it's bad dreams. When you wake up, you have a negative thought, negative voice on your mind. But that's usually an overactive amygdala. And that comes through not knowing how to manage it. Managing your amygdala is not just psychological. It's also biological. You can't just use psychological things when your brain structure has to change. So we do all kinds of different things for that. It's awesome. But here's the thing. And this is how this works. In your amygdala, there's certain patterns of thought processes that if you know what those are, you can now spot out and pull those out of your experience of reality. And now all you're left with is factual reality. And with that, now you can make the best decisions possible. And now the trajectory of your life can change because you're no longer making like okay choices. You're making perfect choices, factually perfect choices for the next several years of your life. Now, that applies to relationships. Like when I work with relationships, like those amygdala runs amok. The reason why they're fighting, think of it, two people got together and they spent years dating and now they've been married for years. They were making a good choice. But along the way, other thoughts got in the way. And now there's arguing. Now there's lack of respect. Now there's confusion. You're supposed to know this person better than yourself almost. And now here you are like as if you're strangers. Your amygdala got in the way. Now, the same thought patterns that are in your amygdala, we find that anytime the enemy speaks in the Bible, and they're all the lies. They're all lies. They're thoughts that make you feel a certain way. They make you feel insecure. They make you feel anxious. They make you feel frustrated. They make you feel impatient. They make you shameful and guiltful. God never said that to us. God never told us to feel shame, ever. Yeah. God never told us to be. He even says, he says, be not afraid 365 times in the freaking Bible. Like, whether you believe in God or not, wouldn't you say it's pretty good advice? Doesn't it seem a little more effective than feel ashamed, be frustrated, start a fight?
Yeah. 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 That also reminds me of where the Bible says about how you take captive your thoughts. And that took me to the energy transfer when you did your exercise. I'm like, oh man, it takes energy to take that negative thought, bring it under submission, and think of the righteous things, the good things.
Yeah. And that one too, it's like when I first learned hypnosis, the biggest struggle I had with people was that one guy I'm thinking about, this guy was like morbidly obese and he wanted to quit smoking. He put no effort into actually quitting smoking yet. So it was my fault for trying to add an adjunct, add a supplement to his non-existent quitting plan. Anyway, so I hypnotized him for 45 minutes. He opens his eyes. I'm like, how do you feel? And I feel exactly the same. Didn't relax. Then I realized, I'm like, hey, did you follow any of the words I said? And he was like, no, you told me to go to a beach in my mind, but I went to a river instead. And I'm like, dude, like, what the heck? Like, what kind of magic do you think is going to unfold if you don't listen to me? So I said, can you think of a dog? He says, yeah. I said, cool. Can you think of a house? Cool. Can you think of a cat? I was like, okay, cool. So you can think thoughts at will. Now, can you think of a mountain? Cool. How about the earth? How about the solar system? Cool. So not only can you think thoughts at will, but you can think very large thoughts with no extra effort. So what I need you to do now is think the thoughts that I freaking tell you to think. So I can take you to a very predictable outcome.
Mm.
We did it again. All of a sudden, stop smoking. So that made me realize that, excuse me. Yeah, 1 second, Rob. That made me realize about all the internal things that happen between like when you say words to somebody, it goes in their ear, but then what happens in their mind? That led me down the path of helping a lot of people with weird issues that they never thought there's answers for. If you have ADHD, that takes like 2 to 3 weeks to fix. If you or one of your kids are a bad speller, or they're not good in school, they're bad at math, they're bad at memorization, they're bad at spelling, that is an internal thing you can shift very quickly. IQ means intellectual quotient. It means like an IQ is they give you a number, and that number tells you how smart or how dumb we are, right? Now, here's the thing. IQ is simply a number that's trying to quantify how many good learning strategies you have. If you have not that many, you have a low IQ. If you have many good learning strategies, you have a high IQ. Here's the thing. Your IQ, all those learning strategies, are 100% transferable. Meaning like I can put good learning strategies in someone's mind, and it's there until further notice. So therefore, genius is transferable.
Whoa.
My IQ, when I was younger, in college, my IQ was 115, which is above average, but it's not gifted. My little brother, he's 125. That is gifted. I didn't spend 2 years revamping how I learned, because I remember I had a mentor. He shared that with me, Casey. And Casey is still to this day the best genius I've ever seen in my life. I haven't spoken to him in a couple of years. I wonder what he's up to. He's not online anymore. He's off social media. He's like the secret karate master who lives in the back of a laundromat in Chinatown.
Yeah.
That no one knows about, but he's like the best of all time. That's Casey. What was I talking about? Casey. Oh yeah. So I spent 2 years focusing on changing my learning strategies. I took another official IQ test, and my IQ was 141. So now I'm considered Mensa level smart. But honestly, I just feel more like myself. I feel like life is easier. It's more fun, but I don't feel like my brain got any bigger.
Yeah. Dude, you know how many people could benefit from like how that would change the world essentially? Me and the kids, we talked about the Israeli bombing of Iran and all the depths behind that. And it came down to leaders and hatred and anger. And they're the ones that are pressing the buttons, telling the message and all that. And that's what the kids started to pray for, is patience, peace, clarity, all that stuff. Imagine all the people that would stop hating if they knew themselves.
Let's talk about that for a second, because this stuff plays out on a massive scale too. COVID, I could do a documentary on the psychological parts of COVID, not just what happened to us as citizens, but also in leadership.
Yeah.
Man, it was amazing. And I say that in a fascinated way, not in a good or bad way, because we can replicate that without the disease in a group of people. Mm-hmm. They'll feel compelled to comply with us because of how it went down. But anyway, so your amygdala thinks these thoughts. Okay. So imagine you're a world leader. You're a world leader and you influence people in your leadership team to think just like you do. So they know what you're looking for.
Yeah.
And your amygdala is thinking thoughts for you all day long, which is slowly giving you more of the same thoughts. So if you have a concern, the concerns build. They're all illogical. They don't have logic attached to them yet. They're ridiculous. They're fears. But then when you have a critical mass of thoughts coming from either your amygdala or your prefrontal cortex, whoever has the more thoughts goes on to hijack the logic center of your brain. Think of it as like Harry Potter versus Voldemort, and there's like the red light and the blue light of like their wands and like the fight of good and evil. That's going on all day long. So now if your amygdala's thoughts hijack the logic center of your brain, now millions of years of experience of convincing you of things becomes very real. Now those thoughts feel just as real as this phone is real right in front of me. Then from there, it makes sense that now you get a feeling. And then from that feeling, we make decisions. And those decisions could be, hey, we heard, hypothetically, we heard Iran might have a nuclear bomb by tomorrow. We should bomb them. And then it's going to suck, but hey, it's better than them having a bomb, right? So they'll go based on the fears of what could happen, not what has actually happened. will go and they'll kill innocent people and start a war. And a war will break out. And then they'll say, you know what, it could have been a lot worse. When really, what if you could have not had the war in the first place? What if nobody had to die? But if you tell them that, they're going to say, no, we thought about this. It's logical. It's all logical. Yeah, but who's running logic? Your amygdala, your concerns, your fears.
So it's essentially what we tell ourselves the most that will hijack and become the primary thought process of our perception.
Yes, exactly. You can have somebody, and you can do, the funny thing is this, like some people out there are afraid of hypnosis because it's, I'm going to change how I look at things. And that same person looks at something like, they'll look me dead in my eye sockets, and they'll tell me what they see. And it's not even real. It's not even there. Like, they are fully hypnotized by their fear.
By themselves, yeah.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. It's crazy. And it's funny because at hypnosis shows, a lot of times people say, I'm not hypnotized. And then you snap your fingers and they go out. It's hilarious.
Wait, is that thing real?
Yeah, that's real. Yeah, it's real.
No way, dude.
It's very real. Sometimes, even to this day, I'll go to, I don't normally go to bars. I don't party like that. But if I'm at a mastermind and the networking part is at a bar, I'll go to the bar. And on my Instagram page, I have videos of me hypnotizing random people at the bar. I make them forget their name in 3 minutes.
Dude, see, when I would watch those videos, I think, okay, before they press play, they actually have an agreement. They're telling the person to, but oh my goodness.
That stuff is 100% real.
Yeah, that's a whole nother level, dude.
No, it's actually fun. Like, it's actually not that stuff is actually not that hard. Connecting somebody back to the first time they've ever felt loved, so they can carry that in to their very first relationship and get married and have a wife and kids. That takes a little more work. That'd be a little more complicated, but it's still very doable. I think of this one guy, he flew in from California a few years ago. We spent like 4 hours together, and he just wanted to have the confidence to approach women. But in the work we were doing, found out that the only other time he's ever felt loved was when he was 5. His mom said, I love you. He felt so safe. And then she went and died in a car accident like the very next day. So he blocked out any moment of love. Now here he was in his 30s trying to find a girlfriend. That dude's married with, I think, 5 kids now, 6 kids. He's unlocked that, and we brought that back to him. And now he's living a great life. And that took some digging. That was 3 hours of digging, but it can be, and usually it's a lot shorter than that, but what I wanted to set him up, we did all kinds of things that day to solidify that. Now that's his life now. So 4 hours to repair things that have been damaged his whole life. Worth it.
It feels like magic. It feels like mind control.
That's why I love it.
It's not mind control. I don't know how to describe it.
That's why I love it. It is like magic. To me, it is magic. It's the magic with no secret behind it. That's what I love.
No spookiness, no witchcraft magic. Yeah.
No. So now it's not mind control. So now what hypnosis is, it is control. It's the ultimate display of control for the person being hypnotized. The hypnotist, I don't have any power over anybody. I give suggestions, not commands.
Oh, interesting.
So if I can say, you're going to do this in a moment, but you can also choose not to do that. You'll never do something that goes against your morals or ethics. That stays intact. Obviously, if we want to get into some sleeper cell stuff and talk about like government stuff, then yeah, we can get more intricate and dorky about it. And like, yeah, there's a way around that. Yeah, but I'm speaking from the place of, if you're helping somebody change and they've always wanted to try hypnosis, but they were afraid. It's like, don't worry. It's like, there's nothing, nobody can make you do things that goes against your morals and ethics. So if it's not in your morals or ethics to kill anybody, it's not going to happen. You're not going to give away your credit card information or your social security number or your crypto wallet or things like that, unless you wanted to, in which case.
Wow. Dude, yeah, this is very fascinating.
Here's another cool thing with hypnosis. I've always found this study very fascinating. This was in 1980, I think. They went to a college and they used hypnosis on football players. And what they did was they hypnotized him. First, 2 really cool things. One was they had this thing called glove amnesia, which is they make their hand go numb with hypnosis. They take a needle, a hypodermic needle, and they put it into their hand here and out the other side. Like it's like right on the outside. So there's 2 holes in the back of their hand. And then they can't feel it because it's numb to them. So they can't feel it happening. Now, they suggest to them, they say, when we pull this needle out, you're going to bleed only through one hole. You're going to bleed only through the left hole. And every time blood only came out of the left hole. One time it went through the right hole and then it stopped and then it went through the left hole. And that person, when they came out of hypnosis, they were like, hey, what happened? And he's like, you said left, but I was like, nah, I want to do the right. Then I changed my mind halfway through and I went with the left. Isn't that crazy?
How does that happen?
Yeah, exactly. Now, another study they did, the same kind of experiment they did there, they had someone's forearm out like this, and they had a dime, just a regular room temperature dime. And they said, in a moment, we're going to put molten hot lead, liquid lead, on your arm, and it's going to burn. And they put the regular dime on their arm, and they were squirming and like sweating, and they had a fever afterwards too. They take the dime off, they wake them up, they see that it was just a regular dime. But a welt formed. Welt, an actual burn mark on their arm that took weeks to heal.
No.
Isn't that freaking crazy? The power of your freaking mind. When I read that back then, and it was time for me to break Guinness World Records, I was like, if you can make someone have a welt in their arm, I could become literally superhuman for a few minutes. Literally.
You can transform any salesperson then, struggling salesperson.
Oh, I work with whole teams. They come on, I do a weekly Zoom call with people, and the company, like just for that one company, we do weekly calls. I go in and I rock people. I change. We do talk sales, of course, because I show them how this relates back. I teach these salespeople not just internal resources to help their lives better, that make them more productive, increase the morale, lower stress in the company, but I also give them communication tactics and techniques to have the best conversations, to make them feel, the prospect feels super connected to them. I show them how I hypnotize people to make them forget do things like forget their own name in 3 minutes. But I show them how to apply that to get sales, even like super fast. And they learn things that obviously never get taught in sales. Even when you have like, sometimes you have some mindset, people get into sales, but they don't teach the hardcore stuff because they don't know the hardcore stuff. I show, if I can make a welt form on your arm with a dime, getting a sale is pretty freaking easy.
Wow.
Without manipulating people too, by the way. We're not controlling people. We're not manipulating. If you ask the prospect after the sale, what was it like? They say, that was the best conversation I've ever had in my entire life. Nobody knows me like you do. And that's the best purchase. The best sale is when they're like, wow, you actually get me. Nobody gets me. I have referrals for you. They're going to love this.
This is dangerous.
It is.
This is dangerous.
There's a company I worked with a couple of years ago, a Fortune 100 company. They had $1 million per week problem. And it was a really big issue with one of their vendors. And this is a massive car company, and they didn't know what to do. They were losing money literally by the day, $1 million a week. It was going to turn into $2 million a week in a few months. They've exhausted all their resources on how to fix the situation. So I hop on a call with their team, and I see right away what's going on. I'm profiling the higher ups, the leaders, and I'm like, oh my God. I just woke up, I had health issues back then. So I just woke up, I got no sleep. I was half awake. My hair is sticking up like this. I look like crap on that Zoom call, but I just spoke exactly the way I needed to speak. And within 10 minutes, they were like, you are our guy. You are the guy who's going to come in. And then they came in, and then came in there. Really easy to fix that. I was like, I can literally do that in my sleep. So what I taught them, fixed that like before the day was even over. Oh, look at that. Now they're all set now. Like I even offer them like weekly calls. They're like, no, we're good. We're solid. No, we get to keep our office building. This is awesome.
Wow. I know for a lot of people, they struggle with, I've exhausted all the ideas. I've done every research possible. Would you work with that historical information, or would you start like clean slate and then work your process?
I would hear what they say, but usually when someone says I've tried everything, they've actually barely scratched the surface. They've only reached the limits of their own realities. But here's the thing, like your reality is the thing that caused the problem. It's going to take a new reality to fix that. There's a joke, and the joke is that this man loses his keys, and this man is under a lamppost at nighttime, and he's looking around, and a police officer comes by, and he's like, hey, what are you doing? And he's, oh, I'm looking for my keys. I lost my keys. The cop says, oh, where'd you see them last? He's, oh, I saw them in my house down the street. And he's, why don't you go look there? And he goes, because I could see over here. Get it? So he lost his keys in his house down the street. But here he is under a random lamppost at nighttime. And the cop is like, why are you looking under the lamppost when you lost your keys in your house? And he goes, I could see over here. I can't see in my house. The lights are off. And that's how people solve their own problems. Oh, I looked everywhere. No, you looked everywhere you can see.
Yeah.
But what you can see is so small. So I would listen to what they said. I would educate them on that. And then I would begin to run my process. And by the end of the first call, if they didn't feel like this was the absolute answer for them, I would let them not work with me. I'd be like, no problem. Hey, if this didn't blow your mind, then I got nothing. Then hey, because I'm just going to get dorkier. And if you just...
That's good. That's funny.
Yeah, if you don't like my flavors, then don't buy the Baskin Robbins. That's
right.
That's how, but that never happens. I think once ever someone was like, I was like, I don't want to work this person. I don't want to work with them. This person's I got some feelings. I had some bad feelings, and I was like, nah, I'm good. I'll pay you triple. Now I definitely don't want to work with you, because now you know I know what you know, and you know that I don't want.
Yeah. Wow, dude, this is gnarly, man. And you'll be doing more of these things like on your videos, right?
I actually have a marketing team revamping all my branding, all my marketing. So they'll be I have my spare room over here, my next room over here. I'm turning into a content studio. I have a consultant coming by. He's gonna show me what to buy, like where to get everything, and set everything up for me. So that's gonna be fun.
Yeah,
it's gonna be good. I'm doing a lot more executive stuff too. I have some students that are charging an insane amount of money per hour. Like one student, I taught him a few things when he was 23. Dude is making 10 grand an hour. 10 grand an hour, 9 hours, 10 hours per month, locked in for 1 year. And this is no social media, no Facebook ads, nothing, but just the communication tactics I taught him.
So that's what he's teaching his clients.
He's teaching his own stuff, which is basic hypnosis, just basic stuff. Like you go to get a cheeseburger from McDonald's, you know you're going to get a cheeseburger. It's not going to be a special steak from Dubai, right? But that's all that was needed. How he gets those gigs has to do with his communication tactics. We went over that in detail, and now he just chose to go that way for his career. But when I came back, he was like, "Hey man, I just want to say thank you so much, because I made $5 million my first year, and now I'm making $20 million this next year." I was like, "Cool, man. What a young guy." And I was like, "Hey man, what's your secret? What do you think is the thing?" And he showed me everything, and I'm like, that is nothing new. We went over every part of that. He's like, why would I do anything else? Yeah, good point. He's like, why would I hustle and grind? I could just work part-time and be a millionaire.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
And as a thank you, he sent me 2 of his clients at the same price point. So I'm happy with that too.
Wow. The power of the mind is crazy.
Yeah, it is the force multiplier. It is the force multiplier. Like in video games, like RPG games, role-playing games, like you can make your character have a lot of strength. You can make your character have a lot of like wizardry and stuff, or you can just get every item you can that'll make every swing give you more experience. Till eventually, like you hit one person, you level up. Hit one person, level up. You level up so fast. That's literally the skills we're talking here. These are the force multipliers. Like the cool thing is nobody has to go back to school to become a psychology PhD and learn 90% of things that will never even apply. Instead, it's like you come what you need, you get what is actually yours already, and now that's it. That's your force multiplier. Here's the machine gun, here's the manual, do some practice rounds. You're now a pro.
This is crazy to me, man. This is because you're helping people learn about themselves a little more and basically tap into their own superhero-ness, per se.
Yeah, there is a superhero in all of us. And Marvel characters give you a good hint on how that kind of plays out for people. When you're following somebody for the sake of wanting to be like them, like some people want to be like David Goggins. Some people want to be like Alex Hormozy. And you trying to be like that person, you're trying to run your life the way they process. But you don't process the same as they do. And people say, I want to have what they have. I want the relationship. I want that. Great. But you don't process that way. So if you're trying to go after that, you might get close, but you're never going to have that exact same thing. And it'll be a rough time to try to maintain that because you'll never process that way. Instead, you have a way of processing that'll give you way more than what in somebody else. it'll be even more perfect for you, and it won't feel like it's constant work of upkeep and to getting it. Like people say, I want to have a certain kind of wife. It's like, all right, cool. But here's the thing, it's like the way you process things and the way you perceive attraction, they got to change. I know so many young guys are like, I want a boss babe who's a CEO. I'm like, dude, you want a wife that's going to give you peace. You don't give a shit how many hot dogs she sold last year. Like that, sometimes that's a change. But the way you process, that brings out your genius. So that when you are on a date, they're like, wow, you are inspiring me. Your passion is very attractive. That's the guy I want to be with.
So you mentioned the word process. The process, the idea of process is how you make your decisions and how you think, or is it something else?
It's all of those and a little bit more. It's also your whole experience of life.
Because you're comparing it against that bank.
So for example, I'll give you an example. So let's say we take a personality type. We take 1,000 ENFPs. We put them into a room. And we're going to give them every cool ENFP tool we can find online, every calendar, every gadget and app that's going to help them succeed at a task. We're going to give them all the exact same task. After it's all said and done, only a percentage of them will still get the task done, and some won't. So if we focus on their personality, there's still going to be a failure rate. Why is that? Because it's not about their personality traits, it's about how they process, which is much deeper than their personality. Personality will change here and there based on someone's mood. Like you take a 16 personalities test, I don't know about you, but sometimes it tells me I'm an ENFP and other times I'm an INFJ, and I'm like, I don't know what the hell I did wrong.
Yeah. Wow.
I'm just answering the questions. I don't know why that would change. The eyeball cannot see itself. And everybody is always looking to see who they actually are. But in your struggle, it's already shown. Your people are screaming who they actually are, but no one knows how to listen. So what I do is I'm listening and I tell them like, hey, let me tell you who you actually are. And if you don't like it, let me know. If it feels wrong, raise your hand and tell me to stop. But I've yet to have someone do, they're always like, Dan, that's exactly me. Wow, I can see that. I have evidence that that is true. And it's always empowering. It's never a bad thing. It's never, oh, wow, I turns out I do suck at acting. It's never like that. It's never like that. It's more like, wow, I am good at that specifically in that way. I thought it was the sport. It turns out that's just the way, that's me in general. Yeah, you're good at that sport as a byproduct of how you process. Hang on one second, my dog's going crazy. Can you hear me now?
Yeah. It's how people think. That's crazy, dude. That's crazy. All of that. Man. So I'm going to have your links and stuff in the description, but if people make it this far, where can they find you?
So right now my Facebook page is still facebook.com/Chris the Hypnotist. And on TikTok, the Hypno Guy, HYPNO, the Hypno Guy. On Instagram, can I send you the links for them and you can put it in the description? Yeah, I think the best way would be either Instagram or Facebook.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you like have disciples, like certified guys that do this? Because this is fascinating.
I do, yeah.
Nice.
I do. I've been training certain people for a while. I'm rolling out a really intricate certification that's going to be like a PhD level of stuff. It's going to be like a lot of depth. I have all the trainings done already. All the modules are set up already. That's taken me years. And I have, oh my God, I have so many hours of training. It's insane. So I'm distilling it down to what's important. And then from there, there's going to be in-person events. There'll be like, everything's going to be branded. I'm trying to get some type of like international accreditation on some of these things. Just for fun. Not that I ever need to, because here's the thing. It's like somebody goes to school for 15 years of their life, but no one knows who they are, or they can't change lives. It doesn't matter what they know.
Yeah.
You know, then there are people that have no certification. They're out there living life and they're changing lives. And sometimes that's a simple pastor at a church. Yeah. There's no liability because you're giving spiritual advice, but that's a different story. But there's people out there of all types. So I don't think it's necessary to have an accreditation. If someone's looking for a fancy piece of paper, then that's not in my value system at all either. I don't look for that. So I would say like the last 3 therapists and psychology master's degree people that came to work with me, they were like, what the hell is this? This is what I wish I went to school for. What school is this? I'm like, this is the school of Chris Bulger. And they're like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
That always feels cool to say that, but it's corny.
Yeah. Yeah. This is great, man. This is great. I appreciate you, dude.
Yeah. I also do one more thing, Rob. I also do, what's it called? I do like complimentary like strategy calls where I meet someone, we get to talk. And what I do with them is for 30 minutes, we go deep into their issues, their situation. We explore that deeply. I give them a lot of insights on how they process and what to do about their situation. And if working together makes sense, we can talk about that. But if not, that's cool too. I just refer them in the right direction.
You're not considered a mindset coach.
I get that a lot, but technically, yeah, I guess so. I'm more of an advisor because when I work with these bigger companies, advising them on really big decisions that affects thousands of people's lives. So I would say advising. I'm definitely advising people on a psychological level.
I like that. I like that. So if I were to introduce you to somebody, I would say, yep, he's a advisor on on psychological level to help leaders make better decisions quicker and more confidently, or something like that.
Yeah, I was recently told about this character on the show called Billions.
Yeah.
And there's like a therapist who's in house.
Yes.
That's pretty much that's exactly what I do for companies.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Can I introduce you to a few people that have like their little communities, and then you could do a talk and stuff to them with them? Yeah, I think it'd be fun for them to hear some of your stories and then put them through something.
Yeah, I love that. That'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I have a couple in mind. Yeah. Cool, dude. I appreciate you, man. I'm gonna stop recording, then we gotta wait a little bit for this thing to go up.
Appreciate you too, man.
Reach out to Chris, man. Reach out to this dude. Okay.